This is the state of the nation. Rifa Mwanga. We are deliberate, we are reasonable, we are uncensored. The state of the nation with Henry Salu. Good evening, good morning, good night to everyone who is joining us here today. Excited to see you again. Happy weekend. Welcome back to all those who just returned from Ija, I think. For Muslims were coming back from Ija. For all the Christians who are coming back from Rome, or from what is it called? The Vatican. Yeah, excited to be here once again to engage in some of what is happening in Uganda, but also Africa at large. We know that there are events happening in Senegal. We are following those events closely. We shall be sharing what's going on in Senegal and what you need to know as someone who is an ardent listener or follower of these conversations. What does it mean for politics in Senegal? What does it mean for politics in Africa? What lessons should other people learn from what is transpiring there? But most importantly, today we are going to talk about Uganda and what is transpiring on that landscape. Please share with your friends. Let everyone know what is happening. Share on Twitter, share on X, share on LinkedIn, on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are. Welcome once again today. My name is Henry Sally, and I'm going to be joined by my colleague, Leonard Egesa, who is a consultant and ex-IMF World Bank worker, someone who has been there, and someone who interrogates issues on Uganda's political landscape. Before I engage more closely, I know what is happening right now, what I've seen happening, conversations about Ebola in Uganda, and I want to talk briefly about that before we start, before I bring on my colleague Egesa on the stage. I'm going to talk about a little bit about what's happening in Uganda. According to some of the conversations that have been happening, the numbers are very low. According to the ministry conversations, at least 7 people have contacted the Ebola. Only 1 has passed. The 5 have been declared to be negative right now, and I think 1 is still in the hospital. Those conversations will continue, but I want to encourage people to go to Uganda. Uganda is not unsafe as it's being portrayed worldwide. There is a marathon that is going to happen, the Renzori Marathon. This is going to happen in August. So for folks who are interested in engaging in marathons, you are invited to come to Uganda, to go to Uganda. Uganda is, despite the prevailing circumstances, it is not unsafe as some people are portraying. We have family there and we have friends, and they are surviving well. They are living well. Of course, we cannot completely disregard the fact that Ebola is happening. We know that the border between DRC, or the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Uganda has been temporarily closed. So we know that folks are not, there's no crossing between DRC and Uganda at the moment. But we also want to let people know that if you, I mean, we are trying to ensure that we manage the country from being stigmatized by international players, by international actors, and all others. We know that Ugandans are safe, and they can participate in world events in this global world without being discriminated against. So that is part of what I wanted us to know. My colleague Egesa is here, so I'm going to add him to the stage, bring him on the stage, and then we are going to engage in our conversation. My friend Egesa, it's a pleasure meeting you again. Been following some of the conversations that you have been sharing, both in Uganda's media but also on X. I engaged closely with your Damascus analogy. I'm going to be questioning you about that, because the question today is whether Uganda is witnessing a managed succession to Muhoozi Kainerugaba, or is there something completely different? So I want to encourage to encourage folks to share these conversations, to this podcast with your friends, so that we can examine some of the consequential political questions facing Uganda right now. Of course, the question is no longer whether Uganda is experiencing a transition. The question, I think, is what kind of transition Uganda is experiencing. And over the last couple of weeks, major events have occurred. For those of you who do not follow Ugandan politics, we know that President Museveni has assented to the Protection of Sovereignty Act. We know that the former speaker, Anita Among, withdrew from the speakership race and has since been replaced with both, or we can say that both has inherited the speakership. Whether he has also inherited her sins, that is yet to be examined. We shall see. But we also know that there's a new cabinet right now that has been unveiled, and we know that in most scenarios within Uganda, these are seen as separate events that are happening, separate political events. But I think together they represent something much larger. My guest today, Mr. Egesa, he argues that Uganda's succession is no longer a matter of speculation, but rather that is unfolding in plain sight. His argument, he says, is captured in what he calls the Damascus thesis, right? Uh, whereby parliament, cabinet, and security establishments are being strategically aligned to create political legroom for General Muhoozi Kainerugaba. I think that's a bold statement, but today we are going to examine it and we are going to test it. So, Leonard, my friend, let us begin with Parliament. Many Ugandans celebrated Anita Among they celebrated Anita Among's withdrawal as accountability. You seem to be unconvinced. So before you introduce yourself and tell us what you do best, a few questions I have for you is that was Anita Among's departure genuine accountability? That is one question that you can interrogate.
That's a straight no.
Or was it a political management? I'm not yet done. I want you to come in. Okay. Done. So was it genuine accountability or political management? She become a convenient scapegoat for a larger systemic problem, and why did the system appear willing to let her go? These are some of the facts you can interrogate with. And what does Thomas Taiwa's retention tell us about continuity? Brother Gesa, who are you, and what are your thoughts on some of the questions that I've started with?
All right. I hope my sound is quite clear.
Yeah, your sound is great. Yeah.
Okay. Egesa Leonard, that's my name. My names are not commutative. I always add that rider. Just in case you would like to refer to me on first name basis, you can just call me Egesa. Yeah?
Right.
I am more comfortable with that rather than calling me Ronald or Leonard.
Okay.
Well, I'm a political and business strategist. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so my origins are in Busitema, on the eastern border of Uganda and Kenya. Born and bred in Kampala, but I've worked big time in Nairobi and also worked in West Africa and of course parts of Southern Africa, yeah, Malawi, Zambia, and the like. So my background is in technology, but also as an entrepreneur who has, interfaced with the challenges of the state and structure of our economies, not just in Uganda but in the sub-Saharan region, I realized that we have to sacrifice our own intellectual capital to try and see if we can influence public policy, if we can help in shaping strategic direction of our people. That would mean that we have to fight for our space on the table. Of course, there are so many interests, especially from the global north, that try to influence what takes place in politics and in governance of our countries. So that's the space in which we are basically trying to elbow ourselves in to try and influence what takes place here. Yes. Yeah, so maybe just to answer the question that you put to me about Anita Among. Anita Among, like you put it quite rightly, I have also written this, was just being managed politically. So it's a political management process. You could call it a political purge of the would-be threats in the Museveni succession project. So Museveni has an elaborate succession project whereby the son or any other member of the Museveni household is supposed to take prime position. So now any other outsiders or pretenders like Anita Among who threaten to derail that succession project have to be dealt with ruthlessly and in time to avoid any eventualities, just in case. Yeah, so Anita Among happened to be one of those that had been moving without caution, moving at a very high speed, and she was actually not so far away from capturing power. For those that know the extent of infiltration of the system that she had managed to conjure up. So it's just a political process. There's no accountability in it. There is no corruption fight in it. And I think now, as the days go by, those of us that called it out at that very moment are being vindicated. So now that she was denied an opportunity to run for speakership, and all the fire has gone down. Nobody is updating us about the investigations.
Right.
I've seen a story carried in nation media in Daily Monitor today about the same. They're saying, why are Ugandans actually not convinced by the fight against corruption?
Right. And that's very important right now, because you just dismiss the corruption as the corruption as
ultimately
the
at
story,
that point.
right?
Yes.
But like,
me, I called it out because I know how Yoweri Museveni works. I
Right.
understand. I have been a student of President Yoweri Museveni. I know how he operates.
Yeah,
and
so
I say
you seem to believe that there's a bigger story. What's the bigger story? Why do you think like that?
No, the bigger story is that nobody considered a threat to the Muhoozi succession project, and I'm actually beginning to think it may not even be just a Muhoozi, let me say a Museveni family succession project, because you see, as things stand right now, if Muhoozi Kainerugaba is firmly in control of the military, because this is a military government, our state is, it has power anchored and arbitrated by the military. So if that is the case, that Muhoozi is firmly in control of the military establishment, any member of the Museveni family, even Natasha Karugire, can become president. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, along the way, if for example President Museveni decides to appoint Natasha Karugire into cabinet 1 or 2 years into the term, much to the surprise of everybody who has been looking at Muhoozi Kainerugaba, it will still succeed because Muhoozi Kainerugaba will still be controlling the ultimate levers of power in the military. So it may not even be just Muhoozi Kainerugaba, it could actually be any other member of the Museveni household. Yeah, so it's...
That's very interesting. So
yeah,
that's a very interesting view, but there's also other views, right? So I'm not sure if you follow Professor Yusuf Selonkoma.
no, he's a colleague, he's a friend.
Yes, I want to introduce one of his arguments. We know that for those of you who do not know Professor Selonkoma, he is a theorist and he works at Makerere University. But he has argued that Uganda is already in a transition phase, not because government announced one, but because Museveni's mortality has become a political reality. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, sure. And if you read one of my recent articles, I have opined that the military takeover of power from father to son is already in full flow. So what is happening is that it's being done in broad daylight, and we seem not to actually just point it out. Now, a few of us who are, like you said, it may be bold, but I don't think it's just about being bold. A few of us who probably are not subservient or hostage to external interests or other interests, we've been able to come out and call it out and say, look, these guys are actually orchestrating a military coup. Right. The military has, even the latest action of appointing cabinets, is part of that coup. Yeah, the latest appointment.
Samarkand has always intimated that it's a coup. That
it is a coup.
The Sovereignty Act was a coup, but there are so many other mini coups that have been happening over the last couple of years that we haven't.
Institutional capture. There has been institutional capture. There has been. You see now, institutional capture started low key, and then as time went by, now they have advanced. They have now properly captured the legislature and placed it under the column of Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Okay. Now we are moving into the judiciary. Actually, even the judiciary now is militarized. Yeah.
Well, we know that the Chief Justice was ordained at Museveni's home.
And he even came through the window, to be honest. He did not go through an elaborate constitutional process that is supposed to be followed to appoint a Chief Justice. So he's a Chief Justice that is beholden to powers that be in the military. And then now you have a parliament that is pliable and is going to be subservient to military authority, contrary to the constitution. So what is happening is that the military General Muhoozi Kainerugaba is taking over power through extra-constitutional means, but with,
You said earlier, do you hear me? Do you hear me? Oh, you seem to be frozen. I'm not sure if it's the network that is interrupting this conversation, but I'll wait for you to return. Once again, I want to encourage people to share this podcast with colleagues. If you're on Twitter, LinkedIn, or wherever you are, please share your your link with others so that they can engage in this conversation. These are conversations that are important for us to engage in, because if we don't, no one is going to engage in these conversations, and it's in our
Okay. I think I must have had some intermittency in the connection.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, are you able to get me now?
Yeah, I'm able to get you. We missed you at a point where you are trying to tell us how the legislature has been captured.
The legislature has been captured in broad daylight. General Muhoozi Kainerugaba wakes up, he tweets that I am endorsing so and so for speaker. Yeah, and then all the NRM MPs tore the line. Yeah, then he says I'm endorsing so and so for deputy speaker, and they tore the line. Yeah, so so basically he's saying that you have surrendered your agency as people's representatives to the military. So the military now carries the agency of the people. Something that is not only unfortunate, but it's quite laughable. Yeah. So they instead of taking orders from the father, President Museveni, now they are even taking orders from the son, which shows you that there is a change of guard. And the son has even boasted. He has said that amongst the over 300 members of parliament that belong to the NRM party, his movement of the Patriotic League of Uganda, PLU, controls over 260 of them. Yeah, so which means that within the NRM, they have already taken, control of a substantial number of their members of parliament. So now, when we move to the cabinet that was appointed on the 26th of May, key ministries that control the treasury, control infrastructure development, that control last mile service delivery, were placed in the column of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and they were handed over to his allies, or his, let me say, his associates. So these are guys that are going now to take instructions to him. So we are going to have a government in this term of office, in which you will have Muhoozi Kainerugaba as de facto defense minister, as de facto finance minister, as de facto minister for works and transport, and de facto minister for local government. So that is the situation that we find ourselves in.
Actually, this is like that's the central. Like, this is like the heart of your thesis, that the Damascus thesis, where you say that Museveni is engineering Muhoozi's legroom, and you argue that cabinet was not designed simply to govern, but that it was designed to facilitate succession.
To facilitate, yes.
I want us to unpack that, especially what you're talking about, the cabinet appointments that have been made. You are making a suggestion that every single figure that has been put in the different governments, i.e. the local government, works and transport, defense and finance, they're all going to be pretty much administered or overseen by Muhoozi MK himself. Let us start with the local government. Why do you think Bala Balgahara is important in that ministry, and how does local government strengthen PLU or the political infrastructure that is creating Muhoozi's legroom?
Bala Balgahara is an efficient operator. Hate or like him, there's one thing that you have got to admire about him. He's a self-made businessman who was only able to succeed because he has excellent people skills. He's a guy who knows how to mobilize people and to organize. He's a very good organizer. So when he is placed in a ministry like local government, there is a mission. But before I come to that mission, I want to give you some bit of background for purposes of context for our listeners or our viewers. You see, somewhere along the term that we just concluded, between 2021 and 2026, President Museveni introduced about 5 Muhoozi Kainerugaba associates, and Bala Balgahara was one of them. All of them were introduced at state minister level. So he was placed in gender, labor and social development as a minister of state, focusing on youth and children affairs.
Right.
So then they had Lilian Abe placed in the office of the prime minister, but still as a minister of state. Then they had Fiona Nyamutoro placed in the Ministry of Energy, still as a minister of state. Those are some of the, I called them advanced team at the time. No, I have been very consistent on this MK project, and I have been analyzing it with every development that has been coming up. So I stated at the time that this is the advanced team which has been sent to cabinet to be able to study which networks are existing in cabinet that probably Museveni himself may not be knowing about, and then to study which are the influential ministries that Muhoozi Kainerugaba will need to take over in the next, government, so as to proliferate the growth of his PLU and increase his influence within the father's government. So now, with this new cabinet, you can see that they have not just remained at state minister level. They have now been elevated to full ministries. Now, Balaam Balgahara, who is the most efficient of all of them, has been placed in the Ministry of Local Government.
Right.
Yeah? The Ministry of Local Government supervises the work of local government units all over Uganda. Now, local government units at the sub-county, or what you'd call local council 3 level, going down to local council 1, are inseparable from the NRM party machinery. They are fused. So it's more often than not, you will hear people saying, we were not able to benefit from such and such a program because they were only giving money or resources to NRM party members. Why? Because the guys who are not distributing these resources in the name of NRM, but in the name of government, through local government structures, still have a bias towards their favoring their party. So they are favoring NRM party members because they are party cadres. So now when you hand over a ministry that has access to these networks at the grassroots level to a very shrewd operator like Balaam Balgahara, you are telling him to do one of two things, or both. Either to now engineer a takeover of the NRM grassroots structure and move it over to PLU. Okay?
Yeah, but Balaam says that the reason why he has been put in local government, in his assessment, is that they are trying to minimize or to manage corruption. And what is
just like they told you they were managing corruption in AAA. But I mean, not even a month has elapsed.
He says that.
You see, for politicians, don't go with what they tell you. Look at what they do. See, that's the best way to understand politicians. You look at what they do, not what they purport to be doing or what they are saying they are doing. Yeah, like I've told you, Balaam is a very shrewd operator. He has a smooth tongue. He can even play, total sycophant. And many people actually think that he's an idiot. He's not an idiot. He's a smooth operator, very efficient and effective. So he's a guy who will actually transfer that grassroots network to PLU. If he doesn't do that, they are just going to capture it while it is still in NRM and then conclude the process by capturing the secretariat. So
I'll give you an example of Masindi district where I come from. We need to sort these things. Two, there are workers who have been in. I'll give you an example of Masindi district where I come from. We need to sort these things. Two, there are workers who have been in public offices for 20 years in one district. What are they doing there? If they are good staff, let us rotate them. Let's take them to other districts. They should be rotational way. The way a minister is rotated after 5 years, a public servant should be rotated every 4 years to allow to break networks of corruption in districts. So among the things that we intend to work on is to have a transparency leadership, accountability leadership, accountability based on set goals as set by cabinet and parliament and appropriation of the budget.
Do you think he's wrong in his assessment?
No. He doesn't have to be wrong. You see, for me, what I'm doing, like you said it at the beginning, you asked me to unpack. What I'm doing is to unpack. So what he's doing is to smear lotion or jelly or whatever you call it to what is packed. So he's beautifying the package, and me, I am unpacking it. So he doesn't have to be wrong. He could actually be right that in the process of taking over the networks of the NRM and making them PLU networks, they would actually purport to be fighting corruption. Yeah, but they want to shake the NRM system and take it over. And there is a point when they were cracking down on Anita Among where I said that the PLU is actually undertaking a hostile takeover of the NRM. And even before that, in the run-up to the election, I did opine that the PLU, the PLU intends to take over, reform, and rebrand the NRM. They are not comfortable operating with the name of the NRM. Now, that is something that is, is going to get sentimental friction from President Museveni. Why? Because President Museveni holds the NRM so dear to his heart. But then, riddled with corruption and all other, fatigue that the population has from the NRM rule due to longevity in power, it is also, sensible and logical for Muhoozi Kainerugaba not to want to continue with the name of the NRM. So it is in his interest to rebrand and reform the NRM. And the only reform that he can talk of that can resonate positively with the population is fighting corruption. So that's why you see that everything that they try to say and do is hidden under the banner of fighting corruption. Yeah.
Right. So some people have speculated that we are over. We tend to say that Muhoozi is too powerful, but he was unable to bring in one of his most important soldiers, Mr. Kabanda, into the cabinet, and he was also not listened to regarding Dr. Baliomusi.
Why are they concentrating on Kabanda, not Andrew Mwenda? Because in PLU, Andrew Mwenda is PO002. If you are given, if you're given a choice between Kabanda and Andrew Mwenda, you yourself, would you bring in Kabanda first? You first bring in
Andrew Mwenda for sure. So why is it Andrew Mwenda in government? If MK is that powerful, why is Andrew Mwenda out of government?
No, you see, when the cabinet was appointed, I gave an analysis to various media houses, and my position has been very clear that there are two things that President Museveni wanted to achieve in the appointment of this cabinet. The first one being restating and reassuring different stakeholders that he's still in charge, he's not a lame duck. But at the same time, paving the way for Muhoozi Kainerugaba to expand his networks and entrench his influence within the government. So he's able to eat his cake and also have it. Yeah, that is President Museveni. Yeah, so it is a double-pronged strategy. So he's able to allow the son to, some legroom to expand his networks in preparation for the inevitable. Yeah, and then at the same time, he needs to give confidence to other stakeholders, such as the development partners or donors, and also, his own historical constituency, that he's still in charge. It's not Muhoozi that is calling the shots, but those of us who are well versed with, what is taking place within the corridors of power, we know that right now they are sharing the powers of Commander-in-Chief. He has ceded certain powers of the Commander-in-Chief to Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So it's not true that Muhoozi lost out. No, the father is still in charge, but he has still ceded some ground to him, as evidenced in the dishing out of ministries such as local government, finance, works, internal affairs, and the like.
Defense. Let us go back to that. Yes. Let us go back to that. Specifically, let us interrogate works and transport. Why was General Katumba Wamala moved, and why is that infrastructure politically important?
I think President Museveni was just trying to preserve the general, the good general, and move him over to somewhere else. And it's not just him. You see, this cabinet, when you look at the appointments, there is another thing that shouldn't be lost on us. That there are 2 4-star generals there. General Wilson Mbasumbadi, who has been put in trade and industry. General Katumba Wamala, those are 4-star generals. Yeah. Then you have 3-star General Henry Tumukunde, retired. No, David Muhoozi was thrown out of cabinet.
He was thrown out of government. I wanted to ask about that. But
yeah,
okay, so
we'll talk about it. Yeah, so you have Wilson Mbasumbadi and General Katumba Wamala, those are 4-star generals. Then you have retired 3-star general in Henry Tumukunde. And then you have retired 2-star generals in Jim Muhoozi and Kahindo Tafire. Yeah. Yes. So now those are 5 generals within cabinet. Now, interestingly, only one of those 5 generals, and that is Jim Katukugu Muhoozi, is going to be able to sit on the National Security Council. Now, who are the other members that are going to sit on the National Security Council? You are going to have the president, the vice president, the CDF comes in as a technical officer, the IGP comes in as a technical officer, and then Minister of Defense, Kiriowa Kiwanuka, a protege of Muhoozi Kainerugaba. You'll have Minister of Internal Affairs, Alderman Kamuntu may not be there, just like it has been with Otafire. The state minister must be the one running it. And now the person who is tentatively appointed to that position is Dr. Lawrence Muganga. So that is another protege of Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So he will also be sitting there. Then you have the Minister of Finance, who is Henry Musasizi, another ally of Muhoozi Kainerugaba. He will also be sitting there. Then you have the Attorney General, and then the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Donia Yebare, who has made it very public that for him is a foot soldier of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and is waiting for instructions. You can't even imagine. He's waiting for instructions and guidance from the CDF. Yet he's supposed to be above the CDF when you look at the order of precedence in Uganda. So that's the situation that we find in. So what President Museveni is trying to do is to alienate these guys from where power sits. You see, like I mentioned at the start of this engagement, I did mention that the ultimate arbiter of power in Uganda is the military. So now
it is.
So all organs to do with security and defense, the president is alienating these other generals whom he has retired from the military. Katumba will be actually retiring, I think, in a month or 2. Yeah. Then the others have already retired. Katumba and Mbadi are retiring in a month or 2. The others have already retired. So he's alienating this old guard and then now bringing into the fold where security and defense decisions and foreign affairs decisions will be made to be dominated by allies and associates of Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So that's why I tell you that it is not by mistake. But then also, he did not want to throw these guys completely away. So he put them in less influential ministries. Ministries that appear to have big budgets, but when in reality they have very small operational budgets. You see, the Minister of Public Service could have a big budget, but when in reality, much of it is going into salaries and what have you. So it's not a ministry with...
General Tumukunde's ministry has a very big budget.
No. That ministry, what happens is that the budget is always adjusted depending on the politics of the day. you see, the politics of President Museveni is quite complex. I'll give you an example. That Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development traditionally didn't have a big budget. But what happened is that when they moved Pius Bigirimana from office of the Prime Minister, because Pius Bigirimana is one of the most trusted aides of the president. So when he was moved from office of the Prime Minister to gender, then the budget shot up. So the budgets always follow certain players. Yeah? So now when they move Otafire to water, you'll see that the water budget will not increase. It will be frozen. So now you should actually follow. Budgets are now going to follow where Muhoozi's allies are going to go. You're going now to see the budget of works increasing. Tremendously. So that is how the politics of President Museveni plays out.
And in works is where General Moses Ali's son was also placed. I think he's
but he's a newbie in politics. That's one. He's a newbie in politics, and number 2, the guy who has been made full minister, that is Fred Byamukama, is a guy who cannot stand to Muhoozi Kainerugaba and say no. He cannot. Muhoozi Kainerugaba could feel actually ashamed to order around General Katumba. So Katumba had to be removed to pave a way for a weakling to go and occupy that ministry so that Muhoozi can actually make true his promise that he's going to take over the road sector. Yeah.
Tell us how important Chirwa Kiwanuka's appointment is and how effectively that creates space for Muhoozi. Because Chirwa was removed from Attorney General after introducing the protection of the sovereignty bill, which eventually became an act.
No, he's not the one who introduced it. No, he's not the one who introduced it.
Was the Attorney General? He's not the one who introduced it.
No. He was not even the one who drafted it. That bill was introduced in a mafia style. That bill was drafted by guys who are neither in the Ministry of Internal Affairs nor in the Attorney General's chambers.
Right.
They were guys who were operating on instructions of the president. So then it was forced onto the Ministry of Internal Affairs to own it and introduce it to Parliament. So the Ministry of Internal Affairs introduced it to Parliament half-heartedly. Yeah? And that could explain why both the minister and the state minister, the minister who is a historical was moved to water, and the state minister was completely dropped from cabinet. David Muhoozi. It's because of the fallout on that law. They were not happy that they were being forced to own a law which they neither drafted nor even believed in. Yeah. So you can see that the first casualty of the protection of sovereignty bill is actually David Muhoozi. He did not believe it. He did not believe in it. He could not do such a shoddy job, but it was forced down his throat. And he had to own it as a person who is in office at the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Yes. So the Internal Affairs docket now. No, you're asking me about Chirwa Kiwanuka. Chirwa Kiwanuka was Attorney General who was obsessed with deals. Yeah. So he was doing a lot of deals, and he had become some kind of de facto prime minister. He was overrunning, the judiciary, overrunning government. And then, of course, he had created a cabal and a network of people that he could clear and others that he could sideline when it comes to compensation. Now, the president got this report. Actually, somebody was telling me yesterday that one of the reports that are quite alarming. You remember President Semakade of the Uganda Law Society and his Radical New Governing Council. Endorsed the presidential candidate of Robert Chagulanyi. Yeah.
Yes.
So So when they did that, the president wondered what could be the issue. So he was briefed that the entire Uganda Law Society is actually against Chirwa Kiwanuka's tenure as Attorney General. So he had to move him away. And where else could he put him? To put him under the care of his man, Muhoozi Kainerugaba in defense.
Because his PLU is a PLU.
Yes, he's one of the architects of PLU who do not come out to shout like Kabanda, but he's in family. Now, you also talked about Kabanda and Andrew Mende. I think I did not complete that point. You see, these are people of shady character. Yeah, and the president has mentioned it before. He has said there are so many self-seekers and conmen who are operating around his son. And the people who have been operating overtly around Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the most are Kabanda, Gashumba, Mawanda, and Andrew Mende. Now, the president does not hold any of those four guys in high regard. It is common knowledge. He has said it publicly. He doesn't highly regard any of those guys. I don't think he's about to appoint any of them in cabinet. Now, Kabanda and Mwenda are maintained there for their nuisance value. They bring a nuisance value to the PLU, and there are jobs that they can do which you cannot tell Edwin Karugire to do, for example, which you cannot send Chirwa Kiwanuka to do. Yeah, these guys can do. So they are useful at this point in time, but purely for nuisance value. So I don't expect to see them in cabinet anytime soon. Maybe only if their man is at the helm and is the appointing authority.
What do you think of people who are afraid of Sam Mayanja as Attorney General?
I think it is. It's not difficult to understand why they're afraid of him. For those that have been following Ugandan politics and his career for some time, Sam Mayanja is one abrasive character. How does the
Radical New Bar view him?
I am not a spokesperson for the Radical New Bar. I may have ideas here and there, but I'm not a spokesperson for the radical Nuba. So I think I wouldn't want to come here and hold out as a person airing the views of the radical Nuba. I am not even a member of the Uganda Law Society. But at least I can tell you that the public, so what I'm telling you is basically coming from the public sentiment. The public views Sam Mayanja as someone who is not empathetic to the Wananchi, and is also not empathetic to the kingdom kingdom administration in Mengo, the Buganda Kingdom administration. So he's a guy who is quite abrasive, and he's one that would do the dirty job.
Is he aggressive or reckless?
He's abrasive.
Aggressive,
And,
okay.
Yeah, he's abrasive, and of course, aggression usually borders on recklessness at times. Yeah, and so he doesn't care. He will attack the Kabaka, and he won't really care. He has no elective constituency, so he's an ex-officio in cabinet. So he will do the dirty work of President Museveni. My suspicion is that probably there is a series of unpopular laws that the president is intending to introduce in this term, the new term of office. So he needs a bad cop who can do that. Then the president will come and play good cop and make a few concessions here and there. I mean, that is the art of politics. So and that is Museveni 311. Yeah, so I think Sam Mayanja is basically put there as a bad cop to serve that purpose.
What are your thoughts about Henry Musasi's in finance? And how is that going to elevate Muhoozi's legroom? How is that going to expand Muhoozi's legroom?
Okay, two things. One, Henry Musasi has been in finance. So he understands he has been a state minister in charge of general duties in finance. So he understands the ministry inside out. He has been an understudy to Matia Kasaija. So he has actually been doing most of the paperwork for Matia Kasaija, and also most of the representation for the ministry within Parliament whenever they are required to go and present on the floor of Parliament. So he has inside knowledge, and he knows the inner workings of that ministry. But then, most importantly, he's aligned with the Muhoozi Kainerugaba faction. So I do expect that he is someone that will help Muhoozi people to get whatever they want from the Ministry of Finance. And even if they want to reorganize or to shake up the system, they will probably be able to do that. Yeah. So that's how I'm looking at it. So I think it is just a strategic appointment to allow the flow of funds to the ministries where Muhoozi's interests lie, local government, works, and the like, defense and the like. So I don't expect to have a back and forth between those key ministries and the treasury, because they have placed Musasi at the helm of finance.
Let us step back to the swearing-in ceremony of the president at Kololo. There's one image that captured national attention but hasn't been deeply discussed. President Museveni, when President Museveni was sworn in, his son, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, stood prominent as Chief of Defense Forces. Of course, he's the one who handed over the instruments of power to his father. What message do you think that image sent? And does it signal state continuity or family continuity?
For all intents and purposes, this is a familiocracy at the moment. Yeah, if you were to begin now analyzing the number of family members of the president that sit in positions of power, you will agree with me that now what we have got right now is a familiocracy. So I think I don't even need to belabor that one. I just have to leave it at that. Yeah.
Well,
for my own safety.
Yeah, I know, obviously. But like your colleague Selun Kuma suggests that Uganda will be better off with Muhoozi as the next president of Uganda for reasons such as Libya, Sudan, and Egypt. For stability, he says that Muhoozi will be more trusted by external stakeholders, but also will be trusted by some of the mafia groups that are apparent right now in Uganda. And he says that having Muhoozi MK as the next president gives confidence to external stakeholders because if we get someone else who is not MK, we are likely to fall into what Egypt fell into when they brought in Morsi, or even Sudan. Because Sudan,
I don't agree. I don't agree with Dr. Serunkuma on that, because either way, whether it is Muhoozi Kainerugaba taking over or any other person, Uganda is going to go through a period of turbulence. That is inevitable. Yeah. You see.
So you don't agree that MK would
no.
stability?
MK is not a symbol of stability post Museveni. It's not. For me, I don't agree with it, and I have numerous examples that I can give you to show you.
Yeah, but
it all follows that. First of all, I don't agree with him when he says no. I don't agree with him when he says that he gives confidence. No, Muhoozi Kainerugaba does not give confidence to all the stakeholders. He's quite unpredictable. Yeah, he's quite unpredictable. Other stakeholders, for example, FDI will be affected if Muhoozi Kainerugaba was to take the presidency. I am practicing in a space where I do investment advisory and among other things. So I know for sure that there is a lot of investment that has been withheld, that should have entered the country because they are not so sure which direction the country is going to take in the event that President Museveni is no longer in the seat of power. Yeah, because anything can happen. He's now an old man. So they are not sure. They are trying to see. And the camp of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and Muhoozi Kainerugaba himself is not giving any confidence through his actions. Yeah, he does not give any element of predictability. Yeah, he's not predictable. In fact, somebody asked me after he endorsed AAA in March what that meant, and I said, for me, I cannot take General Muhoozi Kainerugaba's tweets to the bank. They are not bankable. So he's bound to change them. And as day follows night, or as night follows day, he did actually change. He retracted the endorsement. Yeah. So that is not the kind of person.
If you're talking to external stakeholders, namely the US government or France
or the British government,
or the British government, how do you convince them that Uganda is going to be stable after Museveni, like without the institutions right now? Because you've made an argument
the UK,
that the institutions have already broken down right now. Everything is incumbent on what the president says. So if we do not have that figure in that space, what do you tell, as a consultant, what do you tell the government of the US government or the UK or France or any other folks who have interests in Uganda, that Uganda can be stable without, like, who do you put in the president's office to ensure that their interests?
No, the UK and the US, the UK and the US have on-ground intelligence. They don't actually need any advice from me or any other consultant in Uganda to tell them. They have on-ground intelligence that I'm very much aware. They were looking at people like General David Muhoozi, who has now been put by the wayside. They have been looking at people like Audrey Rabogo, because these are people that could guarantee them predictability and certainty of continuity. Yeah, but now President Museveni knows that, and as much as the UK is actually not hostile to Muhoozi Kainerugaba, but it would definitely prefer somebody else. But the US is not warming up to Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and that is even seen in the recent cabinet appointments. The president is trying to get guys who can unlock the networks of lobbyists in the US to help him with selling Muhoozi Kainerugaba there. That's how people like Adonia Yebare come into the docket of foreign affairs, assisted by David Calvin Echodu. Yeah. You realize that David Calvin Echodu is well grounded in the US. Yeah, he has been. That, of course, he still has a hurdle of dual citizenship hanging over his head. So I'm not so sure he will survive.
Just like Dr.
the
Muganga.
vetting.
We shall talk
Exactly.
about that.
Yeah.
We shall talk about that.
So there's that challenge. There's that challenge. So Muhoozi Kainerugaba needs to be sold. There are a couple of other guys who are within the PLU camp who are covertly trooping to these capitals to meet different lobbyists to try and convince them that Muhoozi Kainerugaba is not as dangerous as the behavior he exhibits on X shows. So there are a couple of others that I know, polished young people who are moving around trying to lobby. Yeah? So President Museveni is hell-bent on selling Muhoozi Kainerugaba to the global north, but the global north, through their own intelligence, had preferred other people. But Museveni is making sure he keeps all those people away from the line of succession. So there will be only one man poised to take power in case of any eventuality. Yeah,
is that,
that's what I can tell you.
Does that help in that? How does that this next 5 years help bring about that realization about MK being feasible next president of Uganda? If the David Muhoozis have been kicked out, if the Rawogos have been kicked out, if President Kyagulanyi is being not thought about as a potential stability figure in the Uganda without Museveni, how does the next 5 years guarantee warmth for MK?
If you know, like they say in the military, even the best plans can collapse at the first encounter with the enemy. So it is quite an elaborate plan by Yoweri Museveni to try and have Muhoozi Kainerugaba take over. He has positioned people in key positions, like I've just mentioned, the Adonia Yebares, to try and help, with lobbying and trying to sell or get the buy-in from Global North. Yeah. Locally, I've already explained what the Balambarugaharas and the rest will be doing to try and capture the party. They have captured the legislature. So now what they need, actually they have already captured the judiciary. So what they need now is to consolidate and continue to spread their influence. As Museveni's influence wanes, theirs should be expanding. Now, that is what the next 5 years should be looking like. However, that can collapse within an instant. Yeah, so President Museveni has tried to look at, to do a proper threat assessment on what could derail that plan. For example, the caucus of NRA, NRM historicals, and a couple of other guys who have been regime stalwarts, the likes of Moses Ali, Sempija, and the like, those are guys who would have misgivings about this whole project just in case they were put by the wayside. So what the president has done is to keep them at the eating table.
Internet is disrupting the conversation, but I guess I'll be returning shortly, of course, as we interrogate some of these very important issues that are happening right now. Dr. Stella Nyanzi, we are watching you. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a question that I'm going to pose to Egesa when he returns. Mr. Moses Felix as well, we have seen your comment. The whole world belongs to God. Are you back? Egesa? Are you back? Let me know when you're back. But you have fans following you as well. Egesa the best. Of course, I hope you're returning soon. I want us to engage some of the folks online who are following us and see if you can engage with some of their questions at the moment. Yes. Are you back? You're back, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some bit of
I
intermittency on
know.
the connection. Yet on Sunday,
Internet.
it's
Yeah.
usually good in Sunday.
You have some fans online who are following you,
Yeah,
and
I shared on my X and LinkedIn as well. Yes.
yeah, enjoying your conversation here. Of course, Dr. Stella Nyanzi has her own question for you. What would effective resistance against the military cause and the state capture look like? Or are we all going to just yield to the transition? So people are starting to actually believe that the transition is happening, but of course, folks who are thinking about resisting it are also asking these questions. So how do we what do we need to do? What are your thoughts? And we just embrace it as it comes. But of course,
Yeah.
there are people who have also taken it to God, like my friend Moses Felix. He says the whole world belongs to God Almighty, and Uganda in particular have some reasons to pay for the world revival for the last generation, Renaissance generation of Africa. Of course, he cites Isaiah 9:4. Anyway, yeah, so those are some of the comments that have been uh, shared. But yeah, I want to give you an opportunity to continue. These are interesting conversations. Of course, we must not keep quiet, because if we just
Sure,
keep
sure.
quiet, then we give up. We give up our
No,
sovereignty, which has been taken.
the first part, let's say if we are trying to respond to the comment by or question by Dr. Stella Nyanzi, the first part is to actually diagnose the problem and define the problem. Now, my job is
If it is a
first of all
problem,
do that.
first of all, we have
Yeah?
to agree that it's a problem.
No, it should be a problem because you see, it should be a problem. One, because Uganda is not a monarchy. Yeah, Uganda is a republic. Yeah,
Absolutely.
but what President Museveni is doing is trying to transform Uganda into a presidential monarchy. Yeah, where the monarch is going by the title president, and also subsequently elections will lose more meaning. I'm not so sure that by the time this term comes to an end, we will still have elections by popular vote. Yeah, we could have switched the system to a parliamentary system.
Parliamentary
Yeah,
system. Yeah.
yeah. So the first thing is to define the problem. Now that's where people like myself come in. We break down whatever action is taking place and show you what the intention is, and I mean make public the intent of President Museveni and the people in his kitchen, what they are trying to do. Now the next thing is to rope in other players so that we have a concerted effort to try and push back. We cannot just lie down and say, oh, it is happening and we are helpless. No, some of us are seeing it. We are putting it out there. Now, you who is out in the diaspora, Dr. Nyanzi who is out in the diaspora, you also have access to networks within these capitals. Like I've told you, there are people who are being dispatched to these capitals to try and sell Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So we also need people who are going to sell a counter-narrative. People who are going to say, no, look, there is a different future for Uganda outside the Museveni family. Yeah. Then,
Right.
even internally here, not everybody is in the same Muhoozi monolith within the security establishment. There are people that we are very much aware about that they are not in support of the Museveni succession project that places Muhoozi Kainerugaba at the center or at the apex of the succession. So all these players should be able to benefit from our analysis, yeah, and then pick up the baton and pursue different avenues that they can use to try and prepare for what is likely to happen. You see, like I said, that even the best plans can collapse at the first encounter with the enemy. You see, right now, there is one factor that is still constant. That is President Museveni. I do not underestimate I don't underestimate, nor even question, his ability to organize militarily and as a strategic thinker. But the moment he's not into the picture, I do not see Muhoozi Kainerugaba operating at the same wavelength. Yeah. So I am not convinced that Muhoozi Kainerugaba would be able to sustain power for even 2 or 3 years, given different forces that are moving. So I am not worried. I am not one of those that have completely lost hope. I do believe that in the absence of President Museveni in the equation,
right,
it's a different ball game. It's a different ball game. I have seen strategic mistakes that have been committed by the PLU, whether deliberate or not. I have seen strategic mistakes. The PLU, much as we talk about it and all that, it's an amorphous entity. Whether it is by design or not, still it is a strategic mistake. Yeah, right. Even the NRA in the bush was more organized than the PLU today, which is plotting to take power.
More resource. Yeah, it's more resourced. It has more access.
More resource, but it is more disorganized. They have more resources. They have more access, like you say, but they are not as organized as the NRA. And that goes back to the organizational abilities of the people at the head of these two. When President Museveni was head of the NRA as rebel leader, his organizational ability could be seen through how he organized within, the bush, to organize a ragtag army, to even have an efficient propaganda machine. Of course, I'm not ignoring the influence of the Western world in the activities of the NRA and their propaganda machine. But still, you have to give it to Yoweri Museveni that he was a good organizer in that respect. Then, when you come to Muhoozi Kainerugaba, they are not as meticulous. Yeah, the PLU, you can see from whatever they are doing, they are not as meticulous. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that the removal of President Museveni as a factor in the succession equation changes the whole thing, and it may actually tilt the advantage to those that are anti-Muhoozi or who are opposed to the Muhoozi.
Yeah, but how does that happen when MK is holding the CDF? And people have also speculated that it could potentially be the VP in waiting. And if he's actually appointed the VP, then we shall have a very uphill challenge trying to challenge him. Because
power is my brother, power is an illusion. Yeah, power is an illusion, and it can evaporate in a day. In politics, decades can happen in a week. So I don't want to be
following the Triple A scenario.
Exactly. The power that Triple A had amassed evaporated within 24 hours or less. So even the purported power of Muhoozi Kainerugaba, I am very sure, I can tell you, I am very sure that it can evaporate within days in the absence of Yoweri Museveni. In the equation, the power of Muhoozi Kainerugaba can evaporate within 24 hours. Let nobody be fooled. Let them not be deluded. Let them not be deluded.
When President Museveni listens to you say this, do you think we are opening his eyes when he listens to these kinds of conversations? And do you think we are giving him an opportunity to re-strategize, to rethink on how he can manage the so-called transition?
It's neither here nor there. Yeah, why? Because on the one end, you might think we are giving him suggestions, but it can also be looked at differently. You can flip it around and say we are pushing back, because I am the first person who started talking about a Muhoozi vice presidency in national media. Right. And I said what I'm foreseeing. It was as early as September last year. I said what I'm seeing after the 2026 election, we might be in for a Muhoozi vice presidency. It picked steam, and so many people started talking about it. And, the Museveni that I know does not like to be predicted. So it would have worked in our favor that because we spoke about it and it became, so obvious,
the idea.
So we pushed his hand in one way or the other. So he dropped it or deferred it. Me, I don't think he has dropped it. I think he has simply deferred.
All right. Internet. The internet is buffering, and we have momentarily lost Egesa, but he'll be joining us shortly. He'll be joining us shortly. In the meantime, I encourage folks to continue sharing your questions via comments. I'll be reading them here. If you have any question, feel free to write it down in a comment. I'll read it to Egesa, and then we can interrogate it as we continue this conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back. Okay, great.
I
Yeah,
think
proceed.
I am back. I'm back.
Yeah, you're
So,
back. Yes, you're back. You're back.
great. Yeah. So for me, I'm thinking.
You're back and then you're not back. You're back and then you're not back. So that there's a disruption here, internet disruption. Folks who are joining us, thank you so much for joining us again. We are trying to interrogate what is happening in Uganda. My friend Egesa called it the Damascus, creating legroom for MK to become the next president of Uganda through parliament, power, and the architecture of transition. Of course, he'll be joining us back shortly. In the meantime, are you back? Are you back?
Yeah, I really don't understand why.
The internet, the ICT, the Minister of ICT is probably trying to locate you and trying to disrupt your internet.
that is not a far-fetched thought. It's very possible, but yeah. Well, anyway, we persevere. So so for me, I was saying that he could have deferred the appointment. Why? Because it would have been quite controversial in the circumstances, because the first priority was to get rid of AAA. Right. After getting rid of AAA, then now he can bring it when the political temperatures have come down. And
in about 2 years, you mean?
Yeah, in about 2 years, yes. After, he has, even the historicals are back to the fold. Now you see you have the spouse of Amama Mbabazi on the eating table. You have the son to Moses Ali. You have Henry Tumukunde back in cabinet, but not in a security docket. Then you have, so these guys need to be busy. They need to enjoy the comfort of these offices, and then he can just pull the rabbit out of the bag, and then he will appoint Muhoozi in a reshuffle of 1 or 2 positions. He could bring Muhoozi
you shared
to cabinet.
earlier that you shared earlier that General Tafile's ministry may not be as consequential, and it may not get as much money as it normally gets. But he hasn't complained, and he has been one of the generals that has been pushing back on the MK project. Do you think General Tafile's time is almost winding down?
No, he will go with the Yoweri Museveni. As soon as Yoweri Museveni goes, and maybe Muhoozi or any other person takes over, the likes of Otafire will not be in government. Otafire, of course, knows how. Otafire knows how the Museveni political machine operates. So I don't expect him to have a lot of control in any ministry he's taken in. Even if he were appointed Minister of Defense today, Otafire usually just maintains the title and then he engages in his own private businesses. Even in the Ministry of Internal Affairs, he has not been running that ministry. It has been run by David Muhoozi. You could see that Otafire has not even been going to Parliament to represent the ministry. So David Muhoozi was the one going to Parliament and doing the spade work. So
some people would say that he has been delegating.
Yeah, no, he has not been delegating, but Museveni puts him there well knowing what he's going to do. That's Otafire for you. He's a guy who is just being rewarded for his historical role in the NRA, not necessarily because he's a performer. No, he's a guy who simply needs a ministerial position to make life easy for him and to be able to facilitate his other business deals. Other than that, he's not someone who makes a substantial contribution to the lives of Ugandans.
He's been pushing back a lot on the MK project, and his remarks during the Radical New Bar engagement that they had was very much welcomed, and I think it was watched by so many people.
But it was quite funny. It was quite funny, quite ironical, and and symbolic of what was taking place. When Otafire, as the Minister of Interior, comes out and speaks like an activist, basically the radical new bar gives you a platform as an activist to come and speak about the ills, the excesses of government. So the Minister of Interior, who is culprit number one in the excesses of government, comes and throws his arms in the air. And he says, I am also powerless, I cannot do this. That shows you that he's just an empty suit in terms of government work. Yeah, he is in office, but he doesn't have any power at all. No authority to influence anything. In fact, this was made very clear by the Kenyan activists that were released from the fridge, like the president called it. Right. So when these Kenyan activists went out there, they said that Otafire's brother himself was in the fridge. Now, how can the brother of the Minister of Interior be in a safe house?
I know.
You see, that's the irony of President Museveni's regime. You see, the other thing that I've been saying that pushed the president to speed up the appointment of cabinet and release it much earlier than he did in 2021 is because the AAA crackdown had been mismanaged by the PLU. Yeah, so the PLU lost the PR of the AAA crackdown by allowing unsophisticated, for lack of a better word, unsophisticated people like David Kabanda to come and be the face of this crackdown. The PLU mismanaged it. So Muhoozi Kainerugaba was now sounding like Idi Amin.
Right.
Yeah.
But Kabanda is the Secretary General for PLU. So who else would have been the face?
You need to analyze every operation and choose your best men or best officers in the army who will execute that operation. There are operations that need more sophisticated people. If PLU had deployed Raymond Mujuni or deployed Andrew Mwenda to be in charge of that operation and told the Kabanda to sit down and not say anything, I think the outcome would have been different. Kabanda is quite reckless and also thought he could pursue personal interests, threaten a few people here and there, blackmail a few people here and there, and get whatever he wants. Now he blew up the whole operation. So it meant that now it was very obvious that the country is being run on the sentiments coming out of the PLU camp, and it is being run by Muhoozi Kainerugaba's orders, who is the Chief of Defense Forces. So basically, he was portraying Muhoozi Kainerugaba as an outright military dictator. How different would he then be from Idi Amin? So now to kill that narrative, because President Museveni was one of those that demonized Idi Amin for the longest time. So to kill that narrative, Yoweri Museveni had to quickly introduce cabinet and switch the conversation. Now, it is some of us who have taken back the conversation and broken up, the appointments to cabinet and shown that no, the PLU is not losing anything. It is still on course. The president is just trying to protect them, like a father who is trying to teach a son how to ride a bicycle. He's holding onto the bicycle as the son gets balance. That is what President Museveni is doing for his son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So there's nothing like a corruption fight. It's just that these people mismanage the whole thing.
Let us talk about the Minister of Interior again, especially the new appointment. And in this regard, I want us to interrogate the issue of dual citizenship. Of course, it's not legal in Uganda for someone with dual or multiple citizenships to occupy the president's office, the ministry, any ministry or state ministry, and I believe IGG. There are some other offices that I haven't looked into. Dr. Muganga specifically. has
there are
been
three people. There are
there
three
are three
people.
people at the moment,
Dr.
but
Muganga,
I think that the
Calvin
one that has
Echodu.
blown up, the one that has really blown up on online is Dr. Muganga.
Because of the sensitivity of the docket.
Because of the sensitivity of the docket, number one, but also the idea that people are sharing is different passports and IDs. I think that is dangerous for the person.
No, let me tell you, I have it on good authority that his personal documents were released to the public through the intelligence organs. And the intelligence organs are not acting on their own. They are acting under the instructions of the president. Yeah?
So why would he appoint him? To expose him.
Yoweri Museveni is a rebel, and he keeps saying he's a Saba
Oh
Yekera.
my goodness.
He keeps saying he's a Saba Yekera. So from what I have gathered is that General Muhoozi Kainerugaba gave a list of over 30 people to the president for appointment to cabinet. Yeah?
30 people. Wow.
Over 30 people. Yeah? But the president managed to bring in only about 17 or so, into the cabinet from the list given by the Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Now, he's trying to teach him a serious lesson that you do not sleep on power. You do not sleep when you are in power. So I think Yoweri Museveni intentionally appointed those people and asked intelligence to blow up the cover.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So,
to teach
so,
a
so
lesson
Dr.
to
Muganga is a PLU guy?
Yeah?
So Dr. Muganga is a
PLU guy. Yes, he is.
Okay.
He was on that list given by Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So the president is trying to show his son that you cannot get and retain power if you sleep on the job. You must be thorough. You must cross every T and dot every I. So let us not be consumed in this. There are people who are saying, his vetting processes are flawed and what have you. No. Museveni operates like that. Some of the confusion is deliberate. Yeah? The way he did Nasa Sebagala. He gave money to Nasa Sebagala purportedly for studies. So Nasa Sebagala went out, he did his own things, he didn't study, he fooled the DP top brass, took them to a fake graduation, he came back, tried to take over the Democratic Party, he failed, and then he came and mobilized for the NRM. Now, after mobilizing for the NRM, he was expecting to be in cabinet. But Museveni knew Sebagala did not have the academic requirements, did not meet the academic requirements of being in cabinet. So what did he do? He appointed him in cabinet together with Naduli.
Right.
You remember? So,
yes.
So it was intentional. And then he actually instructed Parliament. You know, he always maintains back channels of communication. And he talks to Parliament Appointments Committee and said, you should drop Sebagala. So Sebagala is dropped. So it's not any different from this one. So the president, there has been an internal war between the president and the son. Yeah, he has been trying to convince the son that be wary of the following people because of their ties to some of our neighboring countries.
Other countries.
But the son is a bit adamant to listen to that kind of advice. So I think he decided to give him an education in the public square. So he appoints Muganga, and then he tells intelligence that you leak all the information.
His personal information,
Because I know, I have it on good authority that these documents came from within intelligence. So they released this document.
We have all learned that this guy is not just a dual citizen, he's actually a multiple citizen. Triple citizen.
Yes.
But there's a thin line between also alienating people with dual citizenships, because many Ugandans are dual citizens and they could offer something.
For me, actually, that's why some of us were against the protection of national sovereignty. There is already sufficient safeguards within the constitution and the laws of Uganda that deals with the issue of sovereignty. So by barring people who hold dual citizenship from taking certain positions, that already is protection of national sovereignty. So why did we have to get another law to purport to be protecting national sovereignty? You see, now take for example, you approve Dr. Muganga, who is a citizen of Rwanda and also a citizen of Canada, and you appoint him to be the interior minister in Uganda. Now, so interior minister, like defense minister and security minister, consume intelligence. Right. Okay, so intelligence comes his way, which is saying that the government of Canada or the government of Rwanda is no longer a friendly force to the government of Uganda. Yeah, so we need to move like this. And like I told you at the start of this program, you have Interior Ministry sitting in the National Security Council and chairing the Joint Intelligence Committee. Yeah. So now, where does his loyalty lie? Is he going to leak this information to the other countries?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is he going to now say, I am more Ugandan at this time than I am Canadian or I am Rwandan? Yeah. So it's a tricky situation. So that is the kind of scenario that the framers of the law and the framers of the Constitution were trying to deal with. Yeah.
But so some people question that, there are some people who question the way we deal with some of these things, because so there are some people who say that in regard to establishing a university, Victoria University, we did not question him, but in regard to serving the country as interior minister,
but that argument is pedestrian, because you see.
Oh, we are losing you. We are getting an interruption, internet interruption, but he will be back. Egesa will be back shortly as we interrogate the issue of dual citizens serving in government. Comments, suggestions, folks. Comments, suggestions. How do you see things from your perspective? How do you see the Ugandan politics from your perspective? Oh, yeah. Right. Welcome back. Welcome back.
I was saying that the university is not an institution that is of strategic importance to a country. It is a part of social services.
It is, indeed.
But not of strategic security.
No, but it's not. So that pertains to Dr.
You don't hold sensitive national security data in a university.
Not necessarily.
So nobody is, and even then, the offices we are talking about where dual citizenship is bad are stipulated in the law. Yeah, so they are stipulated within the act. So and the cabinet minister is there. Member of parliament is not there. So Dr.
I know so many dual citizens who have been members of
elected
parliament in Uganda.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, but does that mean that? So what happens to these three people at this moment?
They will be ejected. I can tell you, they'll be ejected. And that is there must be a back channel that the president is using to communicate to parliament to eject them, and then he will have an opportunity to bring in other people who could have been his preferred choices and not necessarily these choices of the MK project.
That's interesting. How is that going to be portrayed in the public realm, specifically to the?
It is a facade. It's a facade to show you that Parliament still has some power to bite. Don't joke with Yoweri Museveni. He has managed a facade here, selling a fake democratic experiment to the world that Uganda is a democracy. So it is a quasi-democracy. So at a time when people are saying, oh, Muhoozi Kainerugaba is controlling Parliament, he will now give you a few wins here and there. And will say, oh, the Parliamentary Appointments Committee during the vetting exercise has rejected 3 nominees for cabinet positions. So Parliament is still, doing its work independent of the executive. That is vintage Yoweri Museveni. So,
And then
so
you
we
will
shouldn't
bring
be
in
fooled.
some Mayanja
Yeah.
to bring in his bidding.
Yeah, so we have to be awake. We have to understand Yoweri Museveni. You know, he has been around for so long that there's nothing that he can do that is novel. Yeah, so the aspect of novelty has evaporated. Then also, I mean, we can now actually quickly and easily predict his next move. That's why
Which
I
is
told you
what?
that for us to insist that he was planning to appoint Muhoozi Kainerugaba, we knew his stubbornness that he will not want to do what we have made obvious. So it helped
Right.
us to force his hand, to defer the appointment. And you see, in politics, a day is such a long time.
It's too much.
By
Yeah.
just deferring that appointment by a year or two, yeah, so many
Yeah.
things can change. So many things can change. Yeah, I don't want to go through the permutations right now, but so many things can change. And when
So
they do,
what do you see? What do you envision happening in the next couple of months? What do you think is on Museveni's mind right now, President Museveni's mind right now, and how
what I
does
see,
he?
what I foresee
Yeah.
is that once cabinet settles in, Muhoozi is going to come out with a lot of belligerence and try to position himself as an anti-corruption czar, and try to milk whatever ounce of populism he can milk out of it.
Right.
Yeah, because at the moment, people no longer, the public no longer even cares about the purity of our democracy. Yeah, they are now more concerned about dealing with the scourge of corruption. Yeah, so anybody who purports to be, you know, the panacea to corruption will enjoy public goodwill, and this is the script. As we saw them starting with the AAA, they might go in a few places here and there in the ministries which they have taken. And like you played the script, the clip by Balam Balgarahara. Yeah, this is the script. So this is the script they are going to use. And you know, interestingly, in 2018, I wrote a paper for President Museveni. Yeah, they asked me to give my ideas, and I told them the only way you can salvage your regime is by conducting a coup against your own government, and that coup should be in the form of a ruthless anti-corruption purge. You need to purge your government of corrupt individuals, whether they are kin or kith.
Right.
Yeah, and I even challenged him to give me 20 names, regardless of who they are. And then that is the time when I gave him the idea of the anti-corruption unit. Though that is the idea that I had was not a unit to duplicate the work of the anti-corruption agencies. For me, I was looking at a unit to simply put pressure on the IGG, to put pressure on the CID to process whatever corruption cases are in the system and push them to prosecution, and we see them to a logical conclusion. So it was my original design, though I never gave them the full blueprint. My original design was that this should basically be a unit with a handful of people, not a unit to create jobs for people, but just a handful of people who can keep tabs on, you know, corruption cases and see that they do not die, and also fight corruption within the anti-corruption agencies. That was supposed to be the anti-corruption unit that I was proposing. Now they jumped onto the idea, elbowed me out, and then brought it up in a totally different setup.
Right.
And it has not been of any use to the country. So you can see that, as I told them in 2018, when Bobby Wine was just rising, they are trying to wake up and do the same thing 8 years later.
And they're doing it wrongly, not in the same way that...
In my view, they're doing it wrongly. I could be wrong, but if I am wrong, I have chosen to be wrong.
Do you think cultural institutions have a role to play in pushing back on the potential presidential monarchy?
They have a role, but I think it's better for them to keep it clandestine and not Let's not even talk about it
Okay.
at the moment. Yeah, it should stay clandestine, and it may be spontaneous. Yeah,
Right.
it may be spontaneous because you see the position of cultural institutions sits within our DNA. Yeah, so you don't even need to campaign for it. You don't need to do any mobilization. It will just be sporadic. It will be spontaneous, and things will erupt when the time comes. I have been here long enough to see some of the unfortunate events that have defined the Museveni presidency,
Unfold.
like the Kayunga 2009
Kayunga.
riots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was right in the city center. I saw everything. Kampala was like Baghdad of 2003. Yeah, so it's So I think the cultural institutions have a role, but we cannot elaborate that role. I think it is there. It's better it remains latent and clandestine. Yeah.
Where do we see? I don't like talking about personalities, but to what extent does Saleh continue to be influential in Museveni's government?
I think his influence continues now to wane. It's on the downward slope because as a new player is trying to expand his legroom, that is MK. Definitely somebody has got to give way. Yeah, so he has to eat into Museveni's influence, eat into Saleh's influence, and also eat into Janet Museveni's influence. Because these are all influential figures. So I am aware that in the elections of 26 January, a number of people that had been enjoying the patronage of General Saleh lost out because of the increasing influence of General Muhoozi Kainerugaba.
Do you think General Thacheng is going to be an effective government whip? The internet is being very unfair to us right now because you're almost wrapping up this conversation. Of course, it's an interesting conversation as we pick Egesa's mind on some of the issues that are happening in Uganda today, the political issues. You're back. You're back. Did you hear my question or no?
Yes. No, I didn't. Kindly pardon me.
I was wondering what your thoughts are regarding whether General Thacheng is going to be an effective government whip.
I think she will. I've interacted with her a couple of times, and I know that she has both the soft and hard skills that are required to whip people. Yeah. She can stand her ground.
The suggestions that she was an triple A ally. Do you think she still has a soft heart to triple A? And where do we see triple A in the next 2 years?
No. She has been given an opportunity. I mean, General Thacheng has been given an opportunity to have her Damascus moment, to change from Saul to Paul. Yeah, and but to be fair to her, I think hers was a bit of double loyalty. If not, she must have been a mole in the AAA camp, most likely, because she has always had strong ties with the PLU and also strong ties to the First Family through the First Lady. So I don't think she was purely AAA. She might have been there as a strategic asset. Planted by the guys in power. So if that's speculation, I'm not very sure that she was planted there. But I think she had a case of double loyalty. She was here and here. Now she has been given an opportunity to choose a side because the side that has leverage has come out quite clearly. It's come out on top. So she should be able to align, and she can demonstrate that by whipping the party members in parliament, and I think she can do a good job. I know she has the presence of mind to be persuasive when it is required, and also she has that stubbornness standing her ground when she needs to. So I expect her to actually be a more effective whip than Kasule Lumumba would have been, or because with Kasule Lumumba we have seen her before in that position as a whip, and she was not that effective. So I think she's more suited to that role, and of course she's quite intelligent, so she would know.
Yeah, she's intelligent.
When to crack the whip and when to to persuade people. Yeah.
Well,
so that's my take.
What are your thoughts regarding why our institutions or Uganda's institutions are so dependent on personalities, and can Parliament regain independence?
No, that is Museveni. Museveni is in 101. It's the institutions being reliant on personalities is Musevenism 101.
Yeah.
You change Museveni, bring somebody who wants institutions to function, and it will happen. That's why I've been maintaining that even the purported the purported anti-corruption fight that the PLU is claiming is being done the wrong way. They did not have to bring the military to be part of the raids on Anita Among's properties. They simply needed to say CID, IGG, you have the full blessing of the president, CDF, and any other player to go ahead and do your job. And that's it. That's all. And then the public will scrutinize for you the work of CID. The public will scrutinize the work of the ODPP. The public will scrutinize the work of the IGG. I mean, we have people in the public and the civil society who have appointed themselves as watchdogs. The likes of Isaac Semaka, the Uganda Law Society, Agatha Taylor with their Agora. These are all public watchdogs.
So also yourself, you haven't mentioned yourself, but you're also one of
it's better if you mention it. So it did not require.
And I think it's important for the country to have voices like yourself, like Semakade's, like Agatha's, of course Stella Nyanzi, the Kakwenzas. Most of them are in the diaspora. You're the only one still surviving in the country. Of course, you also have the bad natives. I don't know if you have been following the bad natives.
I know the bad natives. I follow them. I mean, people like Charles Onyango are people that I have admired. I mean, I've admired Charles Onyango since I was a kid. I read Ear to the Ground for eons. He's a guy with a very beautiful brain. I mean, I've been following their discussions on the bad natives. We were actually thinking that if you could bring Dr. Serum Kuma here, bring Dr. Stella Nyanzi, bring Isaac Semakade, we could have another generation which is just a few years below the bad native. If we could have these conversations every week, we would actually be doing exactly what the bad natives are doing now. Why am I saying we should have a counter to the bad natives? Why? Because the bad natives has Robert Kabushenga, it has Andrew Menda. These are two people that are sympathetic to Muhoozi Kainerugaba. So we need to have people who are not necessarily sympathetic to Muhoozi Kainerugaba, like myself, Isaac Semakade, Stella Nyanzi, and the like. We should also have a space in which we can educate people. We can discuss and dissect these issues. So that's why I'm saying you should actually think of bringing these guys on board. Let's have this conversation with these with those people.
Isaac Semakade is already on board.
Then you can bring it in.
I just need to figure out which day works best for everyone and what time, because that has been the challenge, really, the timing. There are many people who want to contribute to these conversations, but the timing has been not favorable for everyone, which is not necessarily true for the bad natives, because they seem to be close to retirement, most of them. They already served the country mostly, and they're just. So I guess I was going to be joining us shortly, as you can see. I know. Yeah. So I was just telling you that it's been the timing that has been unfavorable, but many people have already shown interest in engaging in these conversations and teaching the country, teaching the world what is going on in Uganda, sharing some of the conversations, but also their expertise on how we should manage democracy in that country. Of course, I can't say the same to the bad natives. Most of them seem to be retiring right now, so they might have been
The self-preservation.
yeah, of course, self-preservation, but they also have they're not so much controlled by timing in terms of which days can they come. Like they already have some. But I'll have this conversation with the folks that you have mentioned and see what their thoughts are, and of course we can create that counter narrative on what is happening in the country, how we can teach our people, but also ensure that people don't get all silent, because the protection of sovereignty bill seemed to have opened up a window for silence in how people can engage in these conversations. And of course, we need to figure out a way to ensure that people continue to speak, of course, respectfully, but also truthfully and honestly as we engage in building the country. Even though some of us seem to be eliminated in how we can participate in building the country, because we are people in the diaspora. But yeah, what are your thoughts as you close to this conversation for today?
I think we Ugandans need to know that. I mean, I've repeated this thing a couple of times. The words of John Philpott Quran that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Yeah, and I have modified it, and in a similar manner, like friend Edwin Sifuna has repeatedly said in Kenya, that the price of democracy is eternal vigilance. We have got to be vigilant. We have got to be awake when some of these things take place. Whatever contribution you can make, if you can dissect and show what is out there, what the script is looking like, do that. There are people who have done cartoons, to try and speak back to power. There are people who have, written petitions. The Spires, the Chris Atukwasize. There are people who have written petitions to the IGG, to the CID, to different offices. Let's continue writing. Let's have people doing all these kind of things, such that we do not lose vigilance. The vigilant spirit needs to keep alive. Let's not let that candle burn out. We have got to keep going. I mean, prosperity will be kind to us, and posterity will be kind to us, and I think we owe it to the next generation and to our children. Basically, that's the next generation to create a better Uganda. Yeah.
Have you been following the politics in Senegal?
Yeah. I mean, I am more entrenched in Senegal than many of the folks around. I have
So,
acted there.
what are your thoughts before we conclude? What are your thoughts on what is transpiring?
No, the president in Senegal is just a captive to Paris politics. Paris, yeah. So but by being a captive to the French interests, he is forced to do actions that can only be done by a political novice. Yeah. I am very much aware of the democratic dispensation in Senegal, and many of those francophone and lusophone countries in the region actually have similar constitutions. Just like you see them with similar national flags, they have similar constitutions and similar setups. So they have a kind of a hybrid democracy that makes a prime minister a head of government, and the president is head of state. Now, the prime minister is not the kind of prime minister that you have here, who is just a leader of government business in parliament. So now, well knowing that he had a guy who has a cult following, propelling him to power, I think it was wrong for the president to pull the move that he pulled. It was always bound to backfire on him. And you can see the speed with which Sonko moved to, you can see the speed with which Sonko moved to come and become speaker. A similar script, I've been at the center of a similar script in Guinea-Bissau. I have been at the center of a similar script in Guinea-Bissau 2019. So I am aware of the politics of that region. And I can tell you, the presidents act as fools not because they choose to, but because of the overbearing hand of the French neo-colonialists.
Interests, yeah, French
Yeah.
interests, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Two questions in 2 minutes.
Yes.
What worries you most and what gives you hope? So each question, 1 minute response.
What worries me the most is the persistence, intention, and resoluteness with which Yoweri Museveni goes about his succession schemes. Yeah? But what gives me hope is that the purported beneficiary of the scheme is not as meticulous and formidable as Yoweri Museveni himself.
Yeah, as his father.
Yeah. So that I know, we can take him on. We can take him on. That I can tell you, we can take him on. I don't think that Muhoozi Kainerugaba can rule Uganda for 10 years. I don't think so.
Well,
yeah, I don't think so.
We'll see what happens. We are going to continue having these discussions. It's been a pleasure hosting you today. Of course, I'll be inviting you more in these conversations, and I'm going to reach out to some of the folks that you have suggested. Some of them have already reached out to. Of course, by now you already know who suggested that I should talk to you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but tonight we have been discussing ultimately not about Anita Among or Muhoozi Kainerugaba, but we also talked about institutions. I think this conversation was mostly about how we can strengthen institutions, because most importantly, the question facing Uganda today is not who comes after Museveni, but it's whether Uganda's institutions are strong enough to survive when Museveni eventually goes. And if they are not, then we suggest that succession is going to be dangerous. You've already said that regardless of what happens, succession is probably going to be dangerous.
Turbulent. It will be a bit of turbulent. Yeah, because, for those who follow the Premier League in England, in the UK, England, it's you look at the succession of Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex Ferguson.
Right. Yeah.
That's the best template. That's the best template you can use.
Wow.
When you have a strong leader, when you have a strong man leaving, there are so many pretenders to the throne who throw their hats in the ring. So when you have, when you look at countries like Guinea-Bissau, you have the likes of, with the demise of Amilcar Cabral, there are so many pretenders that come and throw their hats in the ring. When you look at Egypt, you look at Libya, even without foreign interference, even if Gaddafi had died of natural causes, you are always going to have a period of turbulence because so many pretenders, because they have been wheeler dealers, they have been, lobbyists, they have been close to the strongman. They tend to think they have enough influence to take over government. So that creates a reign of instability, which could be short-lived or could last a few years. So whether or not we are following the script of Yoweri Museveni in succession, there is going to be a period of turbulence. That one is a given. So anybody who is coming into Uganda, whether to invest or to stay, should know that that is a given. Yeah, it can only be by divine intervention, but it's a given. It's going to be there. How it pans out, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. So what you're saying really is that we cannot predict how long the period of turbulence will.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much again for joining us tonight. And I'll see you throughout the week. I'm going to be following you on X. You're mostly on X, but I want you to know that people have been following you on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and of course X. Some have engaged actively, others are just watching us in what Ugandans call Kamoli. But thank you so much. And
even intelligence organs have been watching. The diplomatic community is watching. I am followed by guys from the diplomatic community, from intelligence, from the media. Some have even sent me messages saying we are following the discussion. They follow. They get free consultancy, which they don't pay for.
Yeah, but that's good because it also helps educate. We are educating not just Ugandans, but also in the international community, especially because we understand that governance in Uganda is not just about the local, but also the international. So we need to ensure that all different interests understand the conversations, not from one perspective, the bad natives, but from all other perspectives, the different perspectives.
We should be the good natives.
There you go, exactly. The name has a reason. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, thank you very much for the opportunity to have this conversation. It's been a pleasure. Apologies for the intermittency in connection here and there. It wasn't my making, but the service provider. Otherwise, I hope to see you next time.
I'll see you soon for sure. Yeah. Sure. I also still want to encourage people to come to Uganda. Uganda is safe. Well, maybe you can tell us who is in Uganda right now.
Uganda is safe. This narrative of Ebola, it's a complex geopolitical economy of epidemics and pandemics, which has a lot of mafia that control the narrative, and they normally twist the situation on ground. They become alarmist, and then, of course, disable tourism through not well thought out advisories at times. But Uganda is safe. People should consider coming to Uganda, and not necessarily look at it as all doom and gloom.
Alienating the country. They shouldn't alienate us. There's also the marathon, the Rwenzori marathon. I've been following Egesa a lot, and I've seen him promoting this. That's why I'm promoting it here. But I haven't seen him.
He's a meticulous guy. I think he's a meticulous guy.
He's a great guy. So that's why I'm trying to help him. Send his message to as many people as possible. There's the Rwenzori marathon, so please sign up and go participate. It's going to be it's happening in August. I think it's on August 22nd. You won't die of Ebola. You'll actually be the witness. And Uganda was amazing. Anyways, brother, have a good night. Talk to you soon.
Good day. Okay, bye.
This is the state of the nation. Rifa Mwanga. We are deliberate, we are reasonable, we are uncensored. The state of the nation with Henry Salu. This is the state of the nation. Rifa Mwanga. We are deliberate, we are reasonable, we are uncensored. The state of the nation with Henry Salu.